What would happen if you played Rocket League for 24 hours straight? Would you even have any concept of the decisions you were making, or even what you were playing by the end of it? Would your ability to process information be completely gone? I wanted to know the answer to these questions. So that is exactly what I set out to do in this video. Play Rocket League for 24 hours in a row. In this video, we will be recounting the 24-hour journey through all the highs and all the lows. So sit back, relax, and enjoy my descent into madness. The session started out normally. I decided to take on this challenge on a day where I was already going to be training in Rocket League. This particular day was set to be defense training, which would mean a lot of 1v1. I could not imagine a better way to start out this challenge than ones. My training generally lasts about 2 hours, so it was a good way to provide structure for myself. I figured that the longer I could provide structure, the better this would go. My assumption was that as soon as this challenge devolved into doing whatever I could to fill the time, that is when I would start to struggle the most. This would prove to be true very quickly, but we will get to that just a little bit later. The first 2 hours flew by without any issue at all, outside, of course, of the normal frustrations of ones. So the challenge was off to a great start. And then hours 3 to 24 happened, and everything kinda went downhill. After the 2 hours of training, the structure simply disappeared. This is largely my own fault for not pre-planning what I was going to do for each hour of the challenge, a mistake that would inevitably haunt me for the entire time. I decided at this point that it would be a good idea to hop into ranked 2s. To see if the skills that I had worked on in 1s translated over to the 2v2 arena. And here was my first mistake. You see, things are great when you have a set amount of time that you are going to spend on something. In this situation, I only knew how long I was going to spend on the training. So from hour 3 onward, everything was just about doing the thing until I felt like stopping. This led to time consistently moving forward at an astonishingly slow pace. The lack of structure was getting to me very quickly, and at the hour 4 mark, I was already aware that this was going to be a long day. Now, obviously, it would be incredibly unhealthy to attempt to do this challenge without, consuming food. So obviously I had to fit in small breaks to eat, but the trick was trying to find a way to do that where I could still be interacting with the game while eating. The solution was to watch replays throughout meals, meaning I was able to interact with the game in a hands-off manner, allowing me to refill my energy throughout the challenge. After a long, and I do emphasize long, stint of 2s, I finally came to the point that I was getting absolutely nowhere with what I was doing. I was already having issues maintaining focus throughout a game. This meant that it was time to back away from ranked and move into things that I could do without having to worry about actually making good decisions. Oh, we got that win in overtime right as we hit the quarter of the way there. 6 hours in, and we have been playing ranked 1s and ranked 2s this entire time. This is where I was very glad to be doing this challenge on PC, as I had access to the wide variety of workshop maps. At this point, I decided to do a combination of training maps, so I could potentially gain a benefit out of what I was putting myself through. The maps I decided to go with initially were the Hornet's Nest, Lethamir's Medieval Rings course, and one of the Air Dribble Hoops maps. These maps were great because they engaged me in a different way. It wasn't just mind-numbing gameplay on repeat. It forced my brain back into gear through having to work through these maps. This meant that the time spent on them flew by as I was again fully engaged in what I was doing. With the success that came with the workshop maps in Hour 7, I decided to keep this idea rolling into Hour 8, and decided to hop into Speed Jump Boost by DMC. This workshop map is great because it has many levels in it with a great variety of difficulty. So much, in fact, that by the time I got to the later parts of the map, the fatigue was really starting to set in. I was just having a hard time doing what I needed to be successful in these levels. Eventually, I was struggling so much that I had to leave this map and head out to something else. To finish off the first third of this challenge, I headed into free play. I was simply looking for a place that I could relax and not have to worry about trying to do anything specific. Free play was a nice break from everything that I had been doing up until this point, because there was no defined goal. There was nothing that I needed to do to succeed, so I could just kick back and smack the ball around for a while. Okay, 8 hours in. It's weird, because you can see that, like, mechanically, I'm still fine. My brain is very quickly turning into mush, though. So I feel like if we were in an actual game, all of these mechanics that I'm doing here in free play would be absolutely useless. But now that we're at the 1/3 point, we're gonna take another little break for our hands, because it's absolutely necessary at this point. So get me out of free play and get me into, like, watching replays or something, because, oh my gosh, my hands are dying at this point. As we closed the 9th hour and headed into Hour 10, I decided for some reason that I still had enough energy in me to compete at a fairly high level. So I decided to hop back into Ranked 2s since we had taken a several hour break from it. Despite feeling like I had the energy to play well, the next 2 hours were spent going absolutely nowhere in terms of MMR. As you can see, as this game ends at the start of Hour 11, we are still sitting in low GC1 in 2s. Pretty much no movement whatsoever. As you can also see by my reaction at the end of this game, another 2 hours of 2s was all I could really handle. This challenge started at 10 AM, and it was now 8 PM, so my brain was certainly reaching a very mush-like state. For me, that meant that I needed to find something to do that was not going to take any brain power at all. That's when I remembered that I had a particular workshop map that I could look at that I actually had never touched. The map is called The Maze. Now, you might be wondering why on earth I would be choosing to do a maze map when I want something that is not going to take any brain power. The answer is pretty simple. You see, a maze can actually be completed without any thought at all. All you need to do is stick to one wall throughout the entire maze. If you follow a single wall, you will eventually be taken to the end, which is exactly what I did. 10 minutes later, I was at the end of the maze, and it didn't take any brain power at all, which is great because by now, I barely had any brain power left. At this point, we were halfway through Hour 11, heading towards the halfway point. So I wanted to keep things nice and easy for myself, which meant another trip into free play. I spent a while in free play completely normally, but as the time dragged on and the end of Hour 11 approached, I decided to switch it up a little by playing in slow motion. This gave me a little bit of a different feel to the experience and allowed my hands another kind of break without actually having to stop. In fact, I enjoyed playing in slow motion so much that it carried me all the way through to the halfway point at the end of Hour 12. Somehow, we are officially halfway done. So it is now 10 o'clock at night. We have been playing Rocket League for 12 hours straight, and we have 12 more hours to go. This is the point that I feel like things are going to get really, really interesting, because What do I do to fill 12 more hours? Well, the easiest option is to continue to play actual games. Obviously not in ranked, because that would be stupid, although I could probably play 3s ranked and get away with it without anyone being too surprised by my lack of good ability. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll play some 3s ranked. But it's gonna be an interesting night. Some food and replays later, and we were closing in on hour 13. To welcome in this new hour, I decided to do one more new activity. This time, it was training packs. Not much to say about this period of time, except that I was glad there was still something different for me to do, as eventually, I would need to start repeating activities, and that was a fact that I was truly dreading. Continuing forward into hour 14, I did commit to playing some ranked 3s. It seemed like it was the best mode that I could hop into that would allow me to pass the time relatively quickly, while also not having to worry too much about how poor I was playing. Because ranked 3s provides plenty of chaos on its own, I didn't feel bad about providing a little bit more chaos myself. Throughout this 3s session, I even decided to play a game while standing up, and I managed to score a very interesting goal, and then almost immediately fell over afterwards. So you know, I would say I'm holding up incredibly well. Speaking of how I was holding up, I would say that hour 15 is the point that I truly lost my mind. And there's no better proof of that than this little gem of a segment right here. So now that we're over 15 hours in, I'd like to welcome you to a fun little segment that I call Scoring the Slowest Goal in the History of Rocket League. So to do this, what we need is we need to be in free play. We want to make sure that we're lined up dead center with the ball. That's very important. And then unfortunately you do have to be on PC for this, so sorry all you console players out there, but what you're gonna do is you're gonna open up Bacchus Mod, and you're gonna look for the current game tab, and you'll see here we have game speed, which is currently set to 1, because it's at full speed, and we're just gonna drop this speed down to, oh, I don't know, a nice little, 0.05. So make that a nice 5% game speed, why don't we? That's good. And then we can resume the game. We're gonna absolutely floor it with the acceleration and boost, and we'll see how long it takes for this ball to actually get scored. 3, 2, 1, here we go! Wow, look at that speed! Over 10 seconds in already. Haven't even reached supersonic yet. Any second now. There it is. There's our supersonic. Okay. Now we want to be careful here at the end because we don't want to boom this into the crossbar. So we'll start laying off. Boom. Let's see. Did we hit it correctly? We're over 40 seconds into this. Hard to tell with this flight path if it's coming down or not. I think it might be good. It's gonna be close though. Ooh, I don't know now. It might be high. Did we boom this into the crossbar? Ooh, it's close. No, we didn't. It's in! It took 1 minute and 5 seconds. I didn't just want to keep playing plain Rocket League. Lucky for me, there was a limited time mode available at the time of recording for Halloween, known as Spooky Cube. This is a mode that changes the ball into a cube-shaped jack-o'-lantern and adds extra ball speed and ball bounciness. The highlight of this mode was one game where one of Rocket League's bots almost carried my team to victory, and completely destroyed me on the scoreboard in the process. Let's go, the bot scored! I'm actually losing on the scoreboard to a bot. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. At the start of hour 17, I decided to try out another maze. I used the same approach as I did for the previous maze, and ended up finishing this one up in just about 6 minutes. It was at this point that, for some reason, I decided I wanted to add a little more meat to the experience. So I decided to load up what I believe to be one of the most difficult Rings maps, at least at certain points. This is Future Rings, and deciding to play this as I was approaching the end of hour 17 was a huge mistake. Most of these levels are quite manageable for GC level players, even when using air roll consistently. But as you get toward the end, one level is certainly very difficult with how it flips around the camera. I ended up being stuck on this level for a bit longer than I would really hope, but I did manage to finally conquer it, and at least it took up a decent amount of time. As I continued to lose my mind into hour 18, I decided to put a new fun spin on a previous segment. Welcome back to our 24-hour Rocket League Palooza, or whatever you want to call it. This time, instead of the slowest goal, we are here to showcase the fastest goal. And to do this, it's going to be very similar to what we did before, going into Bacchus Mod. And guess what? Instead of going down to the left, we're shooting it all the way up to 5 times the speed. Alright, and you can see the ball indicator just blinking away. Let's see how fast we can do this, and here we go. Beautiful. It went in the wrong net, but still way faster than the other one. So you know what? We'll take that. You know, you would think at this point in the challenge that I would decide that playing more ranked was really not worth it. You would think that, and yet that is exactly what I decided would be the best thing to do in the middle of the night. So back into ranked 3s I went. Honestly, as we were coming up to the end of hour 18 and heading into hour 19, I am shocked I was even able to find games consistently. I don't even know what I was thinking at all at this point, or if my brain was fully on autopilot. To answer that question though, let's send things over to our next segment to take an in-depth look at a moment from one of these great Threes games. Hello and welcome to a very anticipated segment, 4 AM replay analysis with yours truly, Horizon. So we're going to be taking a look at a Threes game that we actually just played very recently, and how this game ends in overtime, and what we do that is just absolutely very, very bad. You don't want to do what we do in this play here. Now you might think, well, looking at this situation, well, this isn't really dangerous at all, right? This ball is gonna pop over, go into the sidewall, that's fine, we can just rotate back, wait to see how that bounce goes, swing around wide, and then buy time for our teammate to get back over here, because all of our opponents are right here in the midfield, so what are they really going to be able to do all that quickly? The only way this becomes dangerous is if we give it right back to them by doing something stupid. Well, if you know anything about myself, you know I'm full of stupid ideas. So instead of taking my time here, hey, why don't we just jump up for this right away and block it out off the sidewall so that no one can follow it up right away? Yeah, that's a great idea, except for the fact that, oh yeah, now we're putting the ball right back into the midfield. This looks very dangerous now, because we've given them an opportunity with the ball heading into the middle of the field with no one back in our net. So let's see what our next bright idea is. Well, okay, we recognize, hey, wait, that's not a good idea. Let's try to get back, shall we? Except for the fact that we're now going to go too fast, tunnel visioning on getting back to the net as quickly as possible, and we don't see this possible passing option here, and by the time we recognize it, oh, you know what, it's too late now and the ball is just in our net. So, moral of the story, don't chuck the ball off the sidewall when you don't have somebody to follow it up, because you're just going to create opportunities for your opponent that's going to cost you the game in overtime. I hope you enjoyed this analysis at 4 AM with Horizon. Thank you very much for coming. Now let's carry on. 5.5 hours to go. The one advantage to playing so much Rocket League when an in-game event is happening is that you unlock the golden items very quickly. Toward the end of hour 19, I had unlocked all 5 of my golden pumpkins. So I decided there was not going to be much of a better time to open them. Now, normally I have absolutely garbage luck with these, but it seemed like on this occasion, the game might have known just how much pain I was in and decided to give me something to feel good about. I'll take that. I'll take that. Now that we only had 5 hours to go, I had officially run out of ideas of what to do. So the solution to that was just go back into free play until I got so bored that I had to do something else. This ended up killing a bunch of time. Again, I balanced my time between full game speed and half speed, so it allowed things to feel different enough that I was able to stay in free play for an hour and a half. With only 3.5 hours to go now, I wanted to see if there was any noticeable skill deterioration from when we started. So I decided to hop back into the Hornet's Nest and the Medieval Rings map to see if I noticed any major differences. Honestly, despite the lack of sleep and the fact that my brain felt like complete mush, there really was no change in the feel of completing these maps. I suppose at some point you do have some things so ingrained in your muscle memory that you can execute them regardless of how tired you are. That is not to say that there weren't any interesting moments, but overall they went better than I expected, finishing the Medieval Rings map in 16 minutes and 54 seconds. Right as the counter reached hour 21. Initially, as we reached 3 hours to go, I thought that I might try to spend the last 3 hours playing 1v1, so that we could finish the challenge in the same way that we started it. Then I realized that I don't hate myself that much, and decided to only play for an hour at most, before taking a break to be able to finish off the challenge with ones in the final hour. This plan allowed me to take ones up until 2 hours to go, and then gave me time to do just a few more things, one of which was one last skill check. This time I hopped into the dribble challenge, and just like in Hornet's Nest and the Medieval Rings, there were certainly some interesting mistakes, but I still got through in a respectable time, just under 16 minutes. With only an hour and a half to go, I decided to hop back into threes to fill one more half hour before I would take on 1v1 one last time. 30 minutes later, we could finally see the finish line. We are 1 hour away from being done. Holy crap, this has been rough. Especially the last couple hours as like the playlist died off and there wasn't a whole lot to actually go do. It was a real struggle. We are less than an hour away now from being done and not having to touch Rocket League for at least the rest of the day, which is fantastic. So with that being said, we are going to finish this challenge exactly as we started it, with 1v1. These were some of the most interesting games of ones I have ever played. We started out looking like we were going to be absolutely run out of the arena, but through sheer perseverance, we managed to claw our way back into the game, just to lose like this. I am so dumb. I am so dumb. Yeah, that would be how I'd lose that. Oh, that's good. 2 games later, we would have another very interesting experience as our opponent asked for a freestyle 1v1, and after we declined, they decided to make the game last as long as possible. Now, normally this would be extremely annoying, but in this moment, when I am just trying to kill as much time as possible, I could not have asked for a better situation. 2 games later, we were presented with an opportunity to win the final match of this challenge. This win took us just 10 minutes away from challenge completion. With not enough time to play another 1v1 game, I decided to hop back into free play to finish this thing out. And we are in the final minutes of this challenge. 24 hours is a long time to spend in a game, especially one like Rocket League where you really gotta be creative about how you're gonna find ways to spend your time. Thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end. I very much appreciate it. And let's get the final countdown going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, time! 24 hours of Rocket League is complete. Oh, thank goodness. It's done. It's finally done. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you click that subscribe button right down below so you make sure you don't miss any future Rocket League content. Additionally, if you guys would like to be more involved in this community, please consider joining my Discord, link down in the description. So thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. See you later, guys.